Mailbag time here on a Ravens Rundown. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. And on today's show, we are going to answer your questions on your Baltimore Ravens as we are a week into the offseason now. The Ravens have a new defensive coordinator next year. We will talk about it all here on this edition of Ravens Rundown. Let's start with this first question from Ravens Fan for Life. Wants to know, will Patrick Queen or any others follow Mike Macdonald to the Seahawks? Ravens Fan for Life, very good question. And it's interesting. You look at the circumstance the Ravens are in, 20-plus free agents this offseason, right? And in particular, the Ravens are dealing with not having a ton of cap space. So there's not money to keep everybody. Even if you wanted to keep everybody, you simply just couldn't. They don't have the money there to make that work. And so then you start to pick and choose. Sure, there's going to be some guys that they move around and open up some cap space with when they go through their cuts. And we'll do a cut candidate video probably next week at some point and go over those. But with that said, Patrick Queen, I would be surprised if Queen goes to Seattle. They already have Jordan Brooks there, and Bobby Wagner's expected to come back. But Justin Matabuke is a name to keep in mind that I think could end up going to Seattle with Mike Macdonald. Had a breakout season this year, 13 sacks, led the Ravens in sacks. Going to be very expensive. Don't know if the Ravens can afford him. Seattle has a big need in their interior, the defensive line there. I could see that. I think that's more likely than it is with Patrick Queen, but we'll see what the Ravens can dial up together. I think another thing, too, that's worth mentioning real quick, as far as Patrick Queen goes, is that there was a belief when the Ravens drafted Trenton Simpson that he could potentially replace Patrick Queen and make it easier to move on from Patrick Queen to go to another team and not have to pay him or be a trade piece, whatever it is. Well, Trenton Simpson, at times this year, looked like a deer in headlights. He was not ready for prime time yet. Now, that could change, but it was very clear they needed Patrick Queen. A lot of it depends on the development, how far along Trenton Simpson comes along when it comes to Queen's future. Do you want Patrick Queen to stay? Here's what I need you to do. Like today's video if you want Patrick Queen to stay around in Baltimore. If not, if you want the Ravens to move on from him and not pay him, comment and tell me why. Either way, you want him to stay, like the video. If not, comment and tell me why you want the Ravens to move on. Today's show is sponsored by Prize Picks. Prize Picks, the place to go for daily fantasy made easy. Here's how it works. You choose two or more players in any given category, get the choice of more or less. Whether you're talking fantasy points, passing yards, receiving yards, you can mix and match different leagues, the NFL, NBA, NHL, and more. Prize Picks, looking ahead to the big game, got Patrick Mahomes to have more than half a passing yard, Isaiah Pacheco to have more than half a rushing or receiving touchdown, and Christian McCaffrey, that's Ed's son, by the way, to have more than 35 and a half receiving yards. If all three of those hit and I put $20 down, we're making $100 on Prize Picks. Play along with me. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Promo code CLNS. The link is in the comments and description of today's video. Prize Picks, proud partner of a Ravens Rundown by Chat Sports. Glad to have them on board and appreciate them sponsoring today's video. Next question comes in from Ray Lewis's pal. Wants to know, any chance the Ravens could trade for Davante Adams? Very good question, Ray Lewis's pal. And you look at the Ravens receiver situation, much improved in 2023 from what it was a season before with the additions of Zay Flowers and OBJ and Nelson Agholor. But what we saw was OBJ disappeared, right? In the postseason, he was non-existent. The Ravens weren't giving him the snaps to keep him on the football field. Didn't make sense. I don't know what Todd was thinking there. Nelson Agholor, I like a lot. I would bring back, and he's not going to cost you a lot. Rashad Bateman has never really come into his own. You need another receiver. As improved as this group was from what they were in 2022, they still need more. Now, Davante Adams is going to be expensive. He'll cost you a first-round pick and more, and then you got to pay him. I would be surprised if they traded for Davante Adams. I very well could see the Ravens using another high draft pick, though, on a receiver. First or second-round pick, potentially. I think that's more likely. I like Davante Adams. He still has something left in the tank, but the price tag, probably too high for Davante Adams. Should the Ravens trade for Davante Adams? What do you think? Weigh in the comments section. Tell us if you think they should make a move. Y for yes, N for no. chime in, tell me what you think. We are your Baltimore Ravens headquarters here on Ravens Rundown with the latest happenings in your favorite team, news and rumors. We're talking trades, free agency, draft, and more. Got an exciting offseason ahead for your Baltimore Ravens. Lock us in. Subscribe now. If the Ravens make a big move of some sorts, we're going to produce content, make a video as quick as we can. And we might be bringing back the weekly live show here pretty soon as well. So stay tuned for that. Subscribe now and join us each and every day here on Ravens Rundown. Oh, God, Terry Bradshaw in the chat. Terry, nice hairline there. Who are some of your top Ravens draft targets? I got to tell you, there's a few guys, two names to keep an eye on. And we did a video on this earlier in the week on the channel of some draft targets. Ravens are going to be picking at 30 overall. Best name in the draft, Chop Robinson from Penn State. Hell of a pass rusher, I think would be an amazing fit for this Ravens defense. You can never have too many pass rushers. And think about this, too. The Ravens this past year, much was made about how good the pass rush was and what they were able to do, how explosive they were. A lot of those guys like Van Noy and Clowney and others were older, kind of just Band-Aids you threw on the situation because guys like David Ajabo were hurt, right? You need some other alternatives. Chop Robinson, good pass rusher there. If you go offense or receiver, producer Big Tex will like this. I like Adonai Mitchell from the University of Texas. The eyes of Texas were certainly upon him this season. Had 11-plus touchdowns. Was under 1,000 yards, but that doesn't tell the full story with Adonai Mitchell because he was a big play threat. He brought that big play energy every time he touched the football. And you had to, I guess, how would I phrase this? Defenses had to rely on, keeping him double covered at times and not giving up the big play because he was capable of getting that big play in any time and eating defenses alive. I think he could be a potential good fit. Those are two guys that come to mind potentially. What about you guys? Who's a player the Ravens should draft? Give me a name or two that comes to mind. It doesn't even have to be a first-round guy. Maybe it's a second or third, whatever it is. Chat in the comment section. Name me a player you think the Ravens should draft. Scott's Tots writes, how much is Lamar Jackson to blame for the Ravens' loss to the Chiefs? Great episode of The Office, by the way. All right, so let me take you back in the hot tub time machine to last Sunday here. And the second play of the game, what happens with Lamar Jackson? He scrambles and he slides for just a 2-yard gain. And the defender for the Chiefs was still a ways away, right? That was kind of the sign of how the rest of the day was going to go. Because here's what happened when Lamar did that. That told me that Lamar was told to play mistake-free football. That he was told not to play to win, but to play to not make mistakes. And that falls on coaching. That's on Todd Monken. That's on Harbaugh. That's who it falls on. Lamar, it's not his fault that play calling made him throw the football 37 times and that they didn't run the ball more than 16 times and Gus only ran it 3 times and the running backs only ran it, 8 times total? That's on coaching. It was a bad game plan offensively against Kansas City, and that's not Lamar Jackson's fault. That's on coaching. Lamar didn't play great, for sure, but he was not put in a situation to succeed. The offensive staff let him down. Last question. Donkey Teeth writes in, will the Ravens defense be any different under Zach Orr? Zach Orr, the new defensive coordinator, taking over from Mike Macdonald as Mike Macdonald's off to Seattle to be the new head coach of the Seattle Seahawks. I think it's going to be very, very similar. The Mike Macdonald way that was established, I think, is here to stay for a while. I mean, think about Michigan after he left to come to Baltimore. The Michigan defense today is what it is based on the system that Mike Macdonald put in place there and kind of set the foundation for their championship. I think it's the same kind of thing here. Mike Macdonald's gone, but Zach Orr in this defensive staff is going to carry on and build from that going forward. I think it's going to be very similar to what we saw previously. If you enjoyed today's show, like the video. We certainly would appreciate it. Thanks for being here with us on a Ravens Rundown. An exciting offseason ahead. Hit the like button. We'll see you next time.